Welcome to Season 5 of AIHA's podcast series, The Healthier Workplaces Show, where we explore timely and informative topics about occupational and environmental health and safety. I'm your host, Alejandro Castillo. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with industrial hygienist and safety professional, Christina Roll. Christina has over 2 decades of experience in worker safety and health. Her areas of expertise include office and industrial ergonomics, industrial hygiene, government regulation compliance, safety and occupational health training, and workplace risk assessments. Christina has developed a unique skill set in her career, starting with safety, occupational health, and environmental consulting, moving into safety management and leadership with the U.S. Marine Corps, and for the last 10 years as a risk engineer/risk consultant with large insurance carriers. She works with clients in a wide range of industries to help identify and mitigate business and operational risks. Today, we're here to learn more about Christina's educational sessions. The first one titled, The Best Leaders, Find Them, Keep Them, Be Them. And her second educational session titled, Overcoming Challenges of Bias and Stereotypes in OEHS. Both educational sessions will be taking place at this year's AIHA Connect 2026 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Christina, thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for asking.
Let's get started. Let's talk about the B.E.S.T Leaders Educational Session. What does the acronym stand for, and how can OEHS professionals become a great leader?
So, but not give too much away because I want people to actually go to the session to understand what the topic is, right? But the acronym is something I came up with when I thought about what good leaders are. And, we all have those sessions of, when you hear about the best manager you had, what made them that way, or the worst manager you had, what made them that way. And so my intent with this session is to really kind of just say, what are those traits that really make the best leaders? And so what I came up with is they are brave, they are empathetic, they are self-aware, and they are trustworthy. So there's your acronym, B.E.S.T, brave, empathetic, self-aware, and trustworthy. So on how to be those types of leaders, that's what we're going to be talking about in the session, about how you be brave. Because in our profession, being a safety and OEHS professional takes bravery. You have to stand up and say, stop work. You have to stand up and say, they are overexposed. We need to put protection in place. We need to stand up and say, this program is not working, and this is why it's not working. So, hey, management, we need some funds and some resources to make this better, right? That takes bravery. It takes time to develop the skills to be an empathetic person. It is not always easy to be self-aware, but that is critical to being a good leader, I think. And a trustworthiness, that's just an obvious one, I think, right? If you can't be trustworthy, if your team can't trust you, if your employees can't trust you, then you've lost everything. No matter what you do, it's nothing matters. So being our best selves and being the best leaders that we can be, it takes time and it takes practice. But these are all skills that some are born with, but others really truly have to learn to be them. Yeah, well, the point of the session is to give tips and ideas and ways to be able to do that.
Absolutely. So your session talks about finding and keeping great leaders. I'm curious, what are organizations doing that unintentionally drive strong safety leaders away?
Oh, that's a great question. And unfortunately, I think a lot, which is really sad. But I think employers are not, I think one of the biggest reasons they're not giving the resources. They're asking a safety and health professional to do the job of 5 when they have a full-time job doing 1. So they're not getting the resources that they need to do the work that they're trying to do and that they're asked to do. They're not giving the professional development that is needed, that an OEHS professional needs, whether that is technical or whether that is, professional development, like going to AIHA Connect, right?
Of course.
And I think it's also just not putting safety and health of employees as the priority that it should be. Right? It's buried under operations, or it's buried under something else, or it's this low in the totem pole when you have the other things that are above it, where it and as an OEHS professional, you can only do so much if you don't have that support from related with your organization. eventually you're going to feel like you're just spinning your wheels. And it just, at some point, you just have to get off the merry-go-round and you have to say, look, I need to look elsewhere. And so I think those are just a few. I'm sure if you ask that question, if you as AIHA Connect and student decides that, hey, what do you think? The myriad of answers, I think, would just astound us, but also be really, really real that organizational leadership would probably really need to hear, if we're going to be honest.
Are there any warning signs that a leader lacks self-awareness, and what impact does that have on the workplace culture?
I think it becomes obvious. Well, I think the problem is it's not always obvious. I think that's one of the biggest things with self-awareness is you don't realize you don't have it because you're not self-aware enough to realize you don't have it. Mm-hmm. It takes people around you to be honest with you and give you that feedback that's saying, hey, you might want to take a step back. You might want to rethink your approach on this. And I think the impact that not being self-aware is that you're not going to see success on what you're trying to do. You know, one of the biggest examples that I like to give is an example where you are not self-aware is when you are trying to come in and tell an employee that's been doing the job for 20 years that they're doing it wrong. And it's like, you don't know how to do his job. So why are you trying to tell him he's doing it wrong? You can take the approach of, hey, tell me why you're doing it this way. Help me understand why it is you're doing the thing that you're doing. And then take the approach of, will you consider trying something different for me? Will you think about this instead? Can I help you understand? Can I give you my thoughts about why this might be a better approach, and to have that conversation, right? To have that self-awareness of, I don't know your job because I haven't done this job and you do, but I know my job, and my job is to help you do your job easier, to help it do it safer, to help it do it better. And to have that approach and talking to the employees about it, right? So that's just one example of where having good self-awareness can be a very positive thing and have a very positive impact. Where on the opposite side, you're not going to go anywhere, and you've just lost an employee for the rest of your time there. And no matter what you try to do, that person is going to get bought in, and you're just going to spinning your wheels and fighting over and over again because of that one particular instance, right? So maybe I hope that kind of answers the question. But
of course,
again, these are all things that again during the session, come and see us, is we're going to be talking through a little bit more, I think.
So I'm curious. Let's say a leader is not self-aware, but they want to become self-aware. What are the steps they have to take?
I'm going to say, come to the session and we'll talk more about that. And you're going to hear all those things at the time. I don't want to give too much away because we are going to talk about that. I'm going to give you real world, walk away, I can do these things tomorrow, examples of ways to become braver, more empathetic, more self-aware, and more trustworthy. So come to the session and get ready to talk and get ready to get a little vulnerable, but get ready to come in with an open mind because we're going to be really giving you some positive things, I think, this will be the course. And help those in your organization be the leaders that you want to be and you want them to be.
Advanced registration for AIHA Connect 2026 is officially open, and we're heading to one of America's most vibrant cities, New Orleans. Advanced registration is open through March 29th, 2026. Register now for the best rates.
Okay, great. So for OEHS professionals who don't manage people yet, how can they still practice the B.E.S.T leadership where they are?
Just because you don't lead people doesn't mean you're not a leader. And I want to make that real clear. I haven't led a team since my third job out of college, which was a long time ago. But I have led programs. I have led in a volunteer manner. And I lead in how I do my job in my organization, because I'm only one of the few people that do the job that I do, right? So just because you don't lead people doesn't mean you are not a leader in what you do. So don't think you don't need to come and listen to leadership speak whenever you don't lead people. It has something to do with it. With that being the case, I think the characteristics that make good leadership, and it's the four that come from the B.E.S.T, but also a lot of others we're going to talk about during the session. I think they just show up in your professionalism of what you do. And I think it's a way, when you have those skills and when you lead from that perspective, it helps you accomplish more. It helps you stand out amongst peers. It helps you stand up for what you're trying to do, and your voice is heard a little bit more because you're coming in with those characteristics that are truly leadership. Again, not necessarily your people, but just being a leader. And I think that is invaluable, number one, but I want to talk about it. But I think it's also something that everybody can do. I think it's things that everybody can learn. And so I really hope that, this session is going to apply not just for people managers or people leaders, but leaders of programs, leaders in volunteer roles, volunteer leader at AIHA. I'm vice chair of social concerns, and I've been involved with other ones. I don't lead the team of social concerns, right? I just am the person that says, hey, we're going to help work together, and I use the other volunteers of the group to get things accomplished, right? We're not, I'm not their boss in any way, shape, or form. So again, I really feel that these are truly applicable to everybody across the board, no matter where you are. But definitely it's for those who see themselves wanting to be more leader driven or want to be in a leadership role at some point. I really hope you'll come and hear what we have to say here. We're going to talk about that. I truly believe it's going to be a huge benefit to you, Jim.
Absolutely. Everybody's welcome to join, of course.
Absolutely, yes.
Let's transition to your other educational session titled Overcoming Challenges of Bias and Stereotypes in OEHS. What did you learn from your research and development of this session?
A lot, actually. This one is personal for me in a way. It came out of a lot of the research and reading that I was doing on my own in looking at women in the workplace, and not just in our OEHS profession, but across the board, and the challenges that still today women have in the workplace. And so it kind of came out of that research that really kind of got my passion for, hey, this needs to be talked about more. And then as I started looking more into that, the whole bias came up with, and why bias is so important to recognize, because whether we recognize that we had it or not, we all did. And so when I thought bias, then stereotypes kind of came up because, women can be very stereotyped for a lot of different ways, a lot of different reasons. And so my kind of goal with this whole thing, and what I learned from it, is that yes, there are biases and there are stereotypes in the world, and they definitely are within our profession, but we have an opportunity to change the narrative. We have an opportunity to break them. We have an opportunity to change the perspectives and how people see other people. That can really change the culture of an organization and change who we are as the OEHS professional, and change how we approach those around us and our jobs and those in organizations, and so on and so on.
Now, why is it risky for OHS professionals to assume bias doesn't always apply to them?
Because we all have them.
Right.
I mean, they're existing in our world. And so to think that they don't exist is almost kind of turning a blind eye to reality of what's happening around us. And, the whole image and, of putting an ostrich in your head in the sand and just don't want to think about it, don't want to think about it. I don't blame people for not wanting to think about it, because the world can be a very, very awful place sometimes. And it is easy to just want to turn a blind eye and say, I don't want to hear it. And I'm just going to ignore it, and I'm going to just stay in my little lane and do things here where those things don't affect me and affect the people around me, and life is going to be great. But the problem that you have is whenever you work in an area where it's more than just you working, you're going to encounter people that have biases and that have stereotypes, and you're going to encounter people that sometimes have those biases and stereotypes against you. And you, without even realizing it, because of how you were raised, where you're from, how you think, how you feel, are going to have biases and stereotypes against others, whether they are unintentional or not. And that is the one thing that we talk about, so, the two types of bias, right? There's the intentional and the unintentional. There's one where you go in and you know that you feel this way and that it's wrong, but you feel it and that's your opinion of it and not that, right? And you're going to tell that person that they are this, that, and the other, and that's just what you're going to say. And you go in and it's an intentional fit and you understand it, but that's who you are. Then there are the things that you say and you do and you don't really realize the impact that they have on the other person. And those are the ones that can sometimes be the most hurtful because you don't even realize you're doing it. And when you do it over and over and over again, it's not just a one time, oh, that hurt. It's you're constantly doing it and not realizing it. And those are ones, like I said, while they are sometimes the most hurtful, I feel like they're also the ones that we can change the easiest because it's that awareness that we can have to change the bias and the change the stereotypes. And so a lot of what I try to do in this session is just bring awareness to anybody who's there of this is bias and this is stereotyping. And these are all the different examples of different types that we have. And I have some videos of commercials and some things from movies and some, ones in sitcoms that are kind of funny, but they really do drive home a point of what this looks like. And yeah, some of them can make you go, ooh, that was uncomfortable, and I'm not sure that's how I felt. But in a way, you need to have that uncomfortable feeling because that's how you're going to really recognize the bias that exists and the stereotype that exists and to make you want to do something to change it.
Absolutely. So what responsibility do OHS leaders have once a bias has been identified, even if it wasn't intentional? And how does self-awareness connect directly to recognizing bias?
So the self-awareness connecting to bias, I think, is sort of an easy connection to make because once you are aware of the fact that a bias exists, you understand what that bias is, and then you look at how you react to people, how you talk to people, how you react in situations. That self-awareness comes in like, oh, that I just think that, and I shouldn't have done that, and I can do something bad, right? Now, from an OEHS profession, what we can do about bias when we see it, we can talk about it. I give a lot of examples in the session of what does this mean for us? What can you do right now? And there's a lot of different things that you can do to make sure that biases and stereotypes aren't something that you are portraying or facilitating or continuing in your workplace. So one example, training that you do. Do you offer it in multiple languages in any capacity possible when you know there are people in your workplace who don't always speak English or don't speak it well? Another one that's really easy, when you have the personal protective equipment in your workplace, do you have it in all sizes for all people, both men and women? And for men and women, because the PPE is designed for a man and a woman differently, they both exist. And then do you go even one step further and say, okay, do I have for pregnant women? And do I have the coveralls that I have to have that? Do I make accommodations for them, right? So those are just two really easy, quick off the top of my head kind of examples. We go into a lot more in the session. But those are just two of the ways that, from an OHS profession, regular day-to-day stuff, we can take a look at these things and we can do some really simple things that are going to help minimize a bias or a stereotype that you might have, that we might have portrayed and have to realize it, but know that we shouldn't have it.
AIHA University is hosting Hazard Recognition and Control for the Emerging North American Cannabis Industry. Earn 1.5 contact hours at this live virtual webinar on March 11th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Scan the QR code to learn more.
As we approach the end of this episode, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
Come to AIHA Connect. You got to come. It's a fantastic conference. The education sessions are really, really top notch. And I don't say that because I'm one of the speakers. I say that just in my time, I've been on the conference planning committee for 3 years, and I know the caliber of the speakers that they bring, and it's quality education that you're going to be able to get. It's the connecting with other safety professionals that we all need. We are in this together, so it's learning from one another. It's collaborating with one another. It's just connecting with somebody else on your level to kind of just feed you for a little while, because it's going to be a very lonely profession if you're the only person doing your job at your branch or at your facility or at your company. You clearly kind of feel like you're on your own little island out there doing your own thing. So being able to come together with 3,000 others that are doing the same job is pretty awesome to see. So definitely come and take advantage of the networking and sessions. I mean, it's in New Orleans, fantastic city. So, enjoy some great food and some great atmosphere and some of the great things to do there. Outside of that, just be kind. Just be kind to one another. Just like I said earlier, there's so much in this world that can be so negative. And at the end of the day, we all want to be better. So if you can take a minute and put out a hand to help each other be better, it might be small, but sometimes small things make the biggest impacts.
Absolutely. Christina, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
That wraps up today's episode of the Healthier Workplaces show. To learn more, visit the AIHA website and follow us on social media. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, remember that healthier workplaces mean a healthier world. Until next time.